All right, here we go. Hi, everybody. I am pleased to have a call with my friends Gina and Matthew here that we wanted to share with you. Matthew has some questions about some things that I experienced and some things that I wrote about. So Gina and Matthew, welcome, and it's great to have you.
My first question is, did you meditate when you got electrocuted and went up there?
Did I meditate? Ask me again when I got electrocuted, Matthew. What happened?
Did you meditate when you were up in the area you were?
You know, I didn't, that's a great question. Nobody asked me that because meditation for me is something that I do here on earth as Danny Bader. And when I had that experience, when the electricity went into my hands and then it went out my feet, as your mom has probably told you the story and I wrote about, I had a really sense of calm and peace and stillness, but I wasn't really in my body anymore. It was more of my spirit, like my energy, or if you ever watch Star Wars, like they talk about the Force. And that's what left. So my body was just laying on the ground. So I experienced a whole lot of stillness, but it wasn't necessarily from a physical meditation here. That's a great question.
How can you meditate as a spirit?
What's that?
How can you meditate as a spirit?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know that you can in the spirit. You know, I think meditation is something that we do as human beings that really try to get us quiet. And for me, when I meditate, I really do try to connect with the spirit. But when I had that experience, when I got electrocuted, I didn't think I need to meditate to connect with the spirit. I had that sense that I was connected anyhow.
Matthew was pretty amazed when I told him the story about you put the ladder down and it contacted a wire. That opened up a lot of questions for Matthew.
Oh yeah. You have some good questions, Matthew. What other ones might you have?
Was there any colors or anything in it? Like colors?
Colors? No. When I went, I experienced a very peaceful, and it was kind of a dark place. So have you ever been underwater with your eyes closed?
Not very much.
But have you ever, when you're swimming, you jump off the diving board or off the side and you get that was the sense for me. Like if you go underwater and you close your eyes, it's dark and it's kind of very quiet and very peaceful. And you have that feeling of kind of floating. So that would probably be the best way I could describe it to you here. But no colors.
Wow, just black?
Yeah, just a black, kind of peaceful, dark, floating place it was. But see, I wasn't in my body, so it didn't have walls or it didn't have any dimension to it. You know, it wasn't like a house or anything like that. It was more of just the awareness that there was a part of me still going on, even though my body was stopped. You know, my body was laying back on the grass. What do you think about that?
That would be pretty cool.
That would be pretty cool, yeah. Did you ever, I guess the feeling that I had, Matthew, as we try to put it into terms of the world, did you ever have your mom there give you a really, really big hug, a good, tight squeeze hug, and she told you how much she loved you? Did you ever have that happen?
Not very much.
Well, I bet you did. But when she does, how does that feel?
Pretty good.
Yeah, and that's kind of how it was for me. I felt like I was just being hugged by God. And it felt really, 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 really good. Do you ever give your mom a big hug?
I can't quite.
You can't? Yes, you can. I think you can.
You know, when we were looking at your books, Matthew was really intrigued that you had one that had the name of Jesus in the book.
Mm-hmm. What'd you like about that, Matthew?
Well, I thought you met Jesus.
Yeah, well, it was here, that's this one right here that you're talking about.
There
I
it
met
is.
Jesus for a Miller Lite. And maybe Miller Lite is a kind of beer. And I thought to myself, what would it be like if I ever met Jesus, right? And we just sat down and had a beer and talked to one another. So that was kind of the idea that started me for that book. And then I put together a story with some characters in it. And the main character's name is Michael. And Michael's a young guy, about 25 years of age, maybe a little bit older than you. And he's a football player in the NFL. He's a running back. And he gets hurt a few times. He gets a concussion. And, he's not playing football anymore. And he's just kind of mixed up about life a little bit. And he meets this guy. And you'd have to read a little bit more of the book or get your mom to read it. But then the guy turns out to be Jesus. And they just have some conversations about life and things. What do you think about Jesus?
I think it's kind of amazing, even
Yeah,
that he could just make the universe, because I don't know how he made it when he had to be born.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure how he made it either. But I guess that's the whole thing. We don't have to necessarily know.
Well, maybe there's two Jesuses in heaven.
You think there's two, maybe?
Yeah, because one was never born and just created the land, and then Jesus created more.
Yeah.
That was one of the questions that you asked me when we were hiking, is you asked me if he met Jesus in heaven and if there was dogs in heaven, right?
Yeah, that's a great question. I didn't meet Jesus as we would think about him, as a man, as a human being. But I think that Jesus's spirit is still around here in the world a whole lot. And I think we all have a little bit of that spirit inside of us. And that's the goodness and that's the love that we have. And that's what you, Matthew, as you continue to grow up now, you got to make sure that you connect with that. And you put goodness and you put love into this world, because that's probably part of your mission in life, right? Your job in life. And, do you have a dog?
No, but we do have cats.
Oh, you have some cats? Yeah. We used to have a dog, and his name was Nova, and he was a big black lab. And we had to say goodbye to him a couple of years ago because he got really old and he got sick with cancer. And, Nova used to sit right here in this office with me a lot of times. And I just had a sense that we were buddies. So even though he was a dog and you have your cats, there's probably some of that energy in there inside of them. You probably feel a connection to some animals. I know a lot of people do. But I didn't see any dogs in heaven. But there's probably a couple up there if I had to guess.
How many?
Oh my gosh, I don't know. How many?
But did you see your dog spirit?
No, I didn't. But my dog, I didn't have my dog yet when I had the accident. The accident happened when I was 28 years old. And then Nova, our dog, we had to put him to sleep much after that. So I never knew him until after I had that accident.
What accident?
The accident, that's the accident where we hit the ladder, when the ladder hit the wire. Remember your mom told you about it?
Yeah.
And that electricity went out my feet and put holes in my feet and my boots.
Yeah, you were pretty curious about that too, weren't you?
Yeah.
He asked me, why wasn't there any blood? How can there be a hole in your foot without blood? He was fascinated by that.
Yeah, that was crazy, Matthew. When I took my boots off because my feet hurt so much, I looked down at my boots, and my boots they were like work boots. You probably have a pair, you've seen them, kind of like winter boots. Mm-hmm. And I looked down, my work boots had little tiny holes in them. And then I took my boots off, and then my socks, I had white socks on, like sweat socks, and they had little holes in them. And then I took them off, and my feet had holes in them. But there was no blood coming out. And I found out afterwards when I went to the hospital that the electricity, when it comes out, all the blood vessels that it broke in half the electricity sealed the end of it, almost like if you had a hose with water and you cut it in half, but then you glued it all up or whatever, then no water would come out. So it was kind of the same thing for all the blood vessels in my feet. It was pretty weird for sure. So you're right thinking if you're thinking it's weird, you're right, Matthew.
Yeah, it kind of is weird.
Yeah, very weird. Very weird.
Did Danny answer all your questions? I'm sure he's going to have to run soon.
But what is that, the black island that was floating you mentioned about?
What was the what?
The black island you mentioned about that floats?
The black island. Do you mean the blackness he had around
Yeah.
him?
How was it floating?
Yeah, the black island wasn't floating. I just kind of felt like I was floating, but I wasn't really in my body. It was just like, it's kind of like what I think is there's an energy inside of all of us, Matthew, all of us that makes us go. And in my mind, that's a divine energy. That's kind of a piece of God. And we need our heart and we need our lungs and we need your brain, right? You need those things to make your body work.
Yeah, the same way as
What's
the
that?
Transformers existed and the core, because that's where their heart would be.
Exactly, right? And when that energy goes out, then the Transformers and all, they'll just stop working.
Yeah, they'll just be a piece of metal.
That's right. That's right.
Unless you put the core back in.
That's right. So that's a great way to think about it. I think what happened to me that day, I believed, is if I was a Transformer that day, and when we hit the ladder with the electricity, I think God took my core out and my body stopped working. And my core went and joined with God. And it was a very weird and wonderful experience. And then I remember God asked me if I wanted to stay in heaven or go back. And I said to God, what about my mom? And what about my girlfriend, who's my wife now, Lisa? And I really expressed concern for them. And then that's when my body started up again. It was like God said, okay, we're going to put your core back in because you still have to live on earth for a little while. So you're pretty good with that analogy there, that metaphor. That works great.
That was funny God gives you a choice.
What's that?
That's kind of funny he gives you a choice.
Did God help me out, Gene?
Oh yeah, he said it's funny God gave you the choice.
Oh yeah, I know. I guess funny, but there's other people that I've talked to and that I've read about, Matthew, that have had that experience where their body stops and part of them moves on. And they also have said kind of they felt like they had that choice of to stay or come back. But what's interesting is a lot of people, when they came back, they said they came back because they were really thinking of other people and they were expressing love and concern for other people. And they wanted to come back and be with them. So I think that's pretty cool, right? It's not like they
How
said,
do they think when they don't have a brain?
Yeah, I don't know the answer to that one. That's a great question.
Can I chime in here?
Sure.
I had the same experience when I had a heart attack.
Right.
And Matthew was with me, but he was only 2, so he probably wouldn't remember.
Right.
And I got asked the same thing, and I wanted to come back because Matthew was 2, and I told God that I wanted to watch him graduate.
Yes, I like that. I like that. So yeah, Matthew, I don't know when our spirit leaves, I guess we don't have a brain like we have in our human body, but I guess we still have the ability to kind of think about stuff, maybe at a higher level, just like your mom did when she said, nope, I have to go back. I have to be with Matthew and I'm going to watch him graduate. So I think that's pretty cool.
Now he has some high stakes to want to finish school.
Oh yeah. Matthew, what grade are you in now? Which one?
Well, you just finished grade 2. So what's next?
3.
Right on. And do you like school?
Yeah, because I'm doing homeschool.
Oh, okay, great.
I get to see I get
Do
to
you have
stay home, do it anywhere I want.
do you have a good teacher?
Well, Mom, basically.
Yeah, so she's probably a great teacher. Better be nice to her, Matthew. Well, that's great. Do you have any more questions? Because you certainly had some wonderful ones. I think they're great.
Yep.
Do you have any more?
One more, but how in the world did the electricity? How did the ladder hit the electricity?
Yeah, the ladder hit the electricity. A friend and I were just lowering the ladder at the end of the day, and the electricity was running through a wire that was pretty high up off the ground. And we thought we were going to miss it, and we didn't. We hit it just by a little bit. So, certainly you don't want to put metal near electricity or anything like that. And that's how it hit it. And then, it came down and went into our body, and it was like a big bolt of electricity, like a big surge of electricity. And, yeah, that was a pretty.
It's almost like one day. Remember the one day I almost put the fork in the toaster.
Yep,
So,
that's
I
how
got out.
Danny's name came up in our house, was when Matthew almost used the fork to get his toast out of the toaster, and I said, "Whoa, whoa, whoa! Let me tell you about Danny."
Yeah. Is that how this all? Yeah, great. Yeah, no forks or knives in the toaster, Matthew. Or
Yeah, I
near
forgot about that. Mom told me once.
That's all right. We all forget about that once in a while. We just are so hungry we want our toast, right?
So
But
if any kids are,
we really
listening,
have
there
to
you
think
go.
about it.
Yeah,
That's
Yeah.
great.
Yep.
That is great. Well, I think it's good. It's great that you had so many questions. And I was really happy when your mom sent me that email, because your mom and I met a couple of years ago. And I know you were a lot younger. So I'm glad that you're doing really well. You seem like a fine young man, Matthew.
Thank you.
You are welcome. You are welcome. And maybe when you get a little bit older, or maybe even now, you can read some of that book with your mom.
yeah. I think he might be old enough now.
Yeah.
Matthew, there's a camera up here. Do you want to come up and wave goodbye and say thank you so much
Bye.
for answering my questions?
Goodbye, Matthew. That was great. And you tell your mom to send your address, and I'll sign some books and I'll send them to you. And I'll send you one of these Jackrabbit t-shirts right here. It might be a little large for you, but I'll send you a t-shirt.
T-shirt?
Yes.
You can grow into. When you read the book, you'll understand more of what Jackrabbit is all about.
Does that sound good?
Yes.
Thank you. So
Thank
I'm gonna
you.
Go see what
Oh,
kind
you
of
are
lunch
so
my
welcome,
babysitter
Matthew.
made.
I'm gonna go see what kind of lunch my babysitter made.
All right. Sounds good. Listen, you keep saying your prayers to God too. It's really important. Is that a deal?
Yep.
All right. It's a deal. All right, Gina, Matthew, take care.
Thank you so much, Danny.
Oh, it was wonderful.
Take
Thanks.
care.
I'm glad you're well. Email me your address, Gina.
I will. Thank you very much.
All right. Take care. God bless you guys. See you,
God
Matthew.
bless.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.